Well, howdy. Let me tell you about $1 million wine scam that rocked the world's wealthiest collectors. Imagine dropping $1.3 million on 267 bottles of legendary French wine, only to discover it was all fake. The man behind this audacious con, Rudy Kurniawan, a young Indonesian who charmed his way into the elite wine scene. Rudy wasn't lurking in the shadows, he was the life of the party, trusted by everyone. He sold not just wine, but a fantasy, bottles so rare, so storied, that even experts were fooled. Collectors who could recite Burgundy's weather in 1945 swirled Rudy's fakes and declared them masterpieces. This wasn't a simple scam, it was a masterclass in deception built on trust and greed. Rudy's genius was understanding that, for these buyers, the story mattered as much as the wine. He spun tales of lost cellars and mythical vintages, and people believed him. The world he infiltrated was one of unimaginable wealth, where a single bottle could cost more than a house. Rudy didn't just sell wine, he sold prestige, exclusivity, and a piece of history. And he did it all with a smile, earning the nickname Dr. Conti for his obsession with the rarest bottles. His empire was built on lies, but for years nobody saw through the illusion. So pull up a chair. Let's dive into the story of Rudy Kurniawan, the man who fooled the wine world. This is a tale of trust, greed, and the power of a good story. It's about how even the smartest people can be blinded by desire, and how one man turned a dirty job into $1 million con. Ready? Let's uncork this mystery. Here's how Rudy became the king of counterfeit wine. Rudy Kurniawan appeared out of nowhere in the early 2000s, dazzling LA's wine elite with rare bottles and endless charm. He hosted extravagant dinners, pouring legendary wines and earning a reputation as a wine prodigy. His obsession with Domaine de la Romane Conti earned him the nickname Dr. Conti. Rudy always had the rarest bottles. If you wanted the impossible, you went to him. But behind the scenes, Rudy was no heir to a fortune. He was living in the US on an expired visa, funding his lifestyle by selling fakes. He built trust by mixing real bottles with his forgeries, using the profits to buy more credibility. Rudy wasn't just a seller. He was a friend, a fellow enthusiast, and that's how he got close to his victims. His genius was in blending in. He spoke their language, shared their passion, and made them feel special. The betrayal hit hard because Rudy wasn't an outsider. He was one of them. He created an irresistible persona, making his eventual exposure all the more shocking. Rudy's story is a reminder. Sometimes the biggest cons come from those we trust most. He wasn't just a con man. He was the insider who made up the rules as he went. That's how he fooled the world, and that's how he almost got away with it. Why would anyone pay a fortune for old wine? It's not just about the drink, it's about owning a piece of history. These bottles are time capsules, artifacts from legendary vineyards and pivotal years. For collectors, it's like owning a lost masterpiece or a rare stamp. The rarer the wine, the higher the status, and the steeper the price. Auctions for these bottles are high-stakes theater, with bragging rights on the line. Rudy understood this hunger for rarity and prestige. He offered collectors not just wine, but a chance to outdo their rivals and taste the impossible. The real value was in the story, the label, the legend. That's what made Rudy's scam so effective. He sold dreams, not just drinks. The allure of liquid history blinded even the savviest buyers. In the end, it was desire, not taste, that made them vulnerable. And Rudy knew exactly how to exploit it. What makes a bottle of wine worth more than a car? 3 things: scarcity, provenance, and condition. Legendary vineyards produce tiny quantities, and as bottles are consumed, the rest become even rarer. Provenance, the wine's life story, matters. A bottle with a perfect, traceable history is worth far more. Condition is crucial. Wine is fragile. Storage and even the fill level in the bottle can make or break its value. Collectors scrutinize every detail: label, cork, capsule, and even the color of the wine. Rudy mastered these details. He created fake scarcity, invented believable histories, and made new bottles look ancient. He knew exactly what buyers wanted and delivered it at a premium. His fakes were so convincing they passed as treasures. Rudy wasn't just selling wine, he was selling authenticity and charging a fortune for it. The market demanded perfection, and Rudy supplied it, one counterfeit at a time. That's how he turned wine into gold, and why so many were eager to believe. In the world of fine wine, the story is everything, and Rudy was the best storyteller of them all, until the truth caught up. How did Rudy pull it off? His suburban kitchen was a full-blown counterfeit factory. He bought up old, lesser wines to use as the base for his blends. Empty bottles from legendary producers were sourced from restaurants and collectors. Rudy meticulously cleaned, relabeled, and aged these bottles to perfection. He stained labels with coffee, scuffed them up, and even added fake mold. Old corks and custom wax seals completed the illusion. Each bottle was filled with his custom blend, sealed and given a fake backstory. He mixed fakes with real bottles, selling them at auction or directly to collectors. The operation was painstaking and brilliant, hidden in plain sight. For years, nobody suspected a thing. Rudy's attention to detail made his fakes nearly undetectable. He didn't just fake wine, he faked history, and the world drank it up. Faking the look was one thing, but what about the taste? Rudy was a master blender, mixing wines to mimic the complex flavors of aged legends. He'd blend old, earthy wines with younger, fruitier ones to hit the right notes. The power of suggestion did the rest. When buyers expected greatness, they tasted it. Most collectors had never tried the real thing, so Rudy's imitations were close enough. Trust played a huge role. Rudy was one of them, and nobody wanted to admit they'd been fooled. Ego kept people quiet. Who wants to confess to buying a $50,000 fake? Even when suspicions arose, the social and financial stakes were too high. Rudy's victims became complicit, protecting their own reputations. His con thrived on hope, pride, and the fear of looking foolish. The perfect fake didn't have to be perfect, just believable. Rudy's greatest trick was making people want to believe. That's why his scam lasted so long and why it was so hard to stop until the cracks began to show. Rudy's empire began to crumble in 2008. He tried to auction bottles from Domaine Ponceau, vintages that never existed. Laurent Ponceau, the winemaker, spotted the fakes and pulled them from auction. The wine world was stunned. Impossible bottles had finally been exposed. Collectors started questioning their own sellers and suspicions spread fast. Billionaire Bill Koch launched a private investigation, uncovering hundreds of Rudy's fakes. Experts found modern labels, typos, and impossible vintages. One infamous example, a 1947 Magnum from Chateau Lafleur. Except Magnums weren't made that year. The evidence was undeniable. Rudy's carefully crafted persona unraveled. The trusted insider was now a prime suspect. The wine world realized they'd been duped by one of their own. The con was over, and the hunt for justice began. Rudy's story became a cautionary tale. Even the rarest bottles can hide the biggest lies. And sometimes the truth is right on the label, if you know where to look. With the evidence mounting, the FBI closed in. In March 2012, agents raided Rudy's home and found his counterfeiting operation in full swing. Bottles, labels, corks, and blending equipment, everything needed for a world-class scam. Rudy was arrested on the spot, his life of luxury over in an instant. The trial revealed the full extent of his deception. Prosecutors laid out the evidence. Experts explained the fakes. Victims testified about the millions lost. In December 2013, Rudy was convicted of mail and wire fraud, the first in U.S. history for fake wine. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison and ordered to pay back $28.4 million. The king of counterfeit wine was dethroned. The wine world breathed a sigh of relief. Justice had finally been served, and Rudy's empire of lies was finished. After Rudy's conviction, authorities faced a unique problem: what to do with thousands of seized bottles. The real wines were auctioned to repay victims. The fakes were destroyed. Rudy was released in 2020 and deported to Indonesia. His scam left a lasting mark. Trust in the wine world was shattered. Collectors and auction houses became far more vigilant, investing in authentication and expert scrutiny. Rudy's con forced the industry to get smarter and more skeptical. He exposed a weakness that had been ignored for too long. The lesson? Even the elite can be fooled by a good story. Passion and prestige can blind anyone to the truth. Rudy's tale is a reminder: if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Thanks for joining this deep dive into the world of wine, wealth, and deception. Subscribe for more stories about the strange, surprising ways people make and fake a living.